Alice.
And I'm Ripley.
And I'm John.
And this is Comicsplaining.
The show where statistics say everyone was hornier in the 80s.
No, they don't!
It's true.
John
right
said
here,
that.
John said that.
I didn't say that!
No,
John
we were
knows
both
all
here.
the statistics.
We know all
And
about
I
it.
Said,
Don't know that, and I didn't say that.
You did.
I was talking about whether Denmark exists.
That was like 10 minutes ago.
Yes, that's what I was talking about. And
Fake
then,
news.
And then I was talking about how weirdly horny this cover was.
This cover is indeed rather horny. At first, I was just confused, and also Cyclops' decapitating Colossus, as you pointed out.
That was my joke. Thank you very much.
It is indeed.
Does Aurora have brain blasts?
No, Jean is brain blasting her.
Oh.
Aurora does have humongous hair.
Of course.
Because this cover's from the 80s. Ah, yeah, it even says so. 11/6/86.
We have not even gotten to the horny part of this cover, though.
No!
It sure looks like there is some kinky shit going on
Beast,
with
Wolverine, and
Iceman.
They're all doing
something. So I'm back. I'm feeling better.
Clearly.
Oh, God.
Jean personally depleted the ozone layer with her hair.
And she needs a mask to match the hair.
Well, obviously, you can't have it be disproportionate.
But
she looks malnourished.
She looks awful.
What's with Hank's teeth?
There's way too many of them.
What's with Scott's head?
It's very
How about his spine?
Look like fucking Karnak looking ass.
Jean looks so bad.
Bad, just really bad.
Why'd they put the worst two in front?
I don't think there's a winner here, frankly.
I mean, I don't think it was a conscious choice so much as they drew them like that, and they drew them bad.
They drew every one of them.
You got another example of big hair in the back.
Well, yeah.
Oh, God. It looks like one of those fucking hats.
That's a hat, including the mask bit.
Yeah.
So what happened last time on X-Men?
Fuck if I know.
I've
had a hell of a week.
Some people got spaced.
They did. How did they get in space?
Sentinels.
Sentinels did take them to space.
I couldn't remember
We've
what
also
Sentinels were called.
skipped an entire story. It was date night. Jean was getting ready for her date.
Oh, yeah. She actually had a date. This isn't us projecting onto Jean and Aurora or Jean and Wolverine.
Jean can have multiple partners,
yes,
so
she
long
can.
as everybody's happy with it.
Yes, she can. But this isn't us thinking she has. She
No.
actually had a date with Scott.
Indeed.
Her actual canon boyfriend, yes.
Her actual boyfriend.
Yes. Did she ever end up with anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know. Look, most of the time I've read, she's been dead. Not a lot of dating opportunities when you're dead and not being written.
Disagree.
Really? I'd like to see that. That's something I'm now very curious about, where you can date when you're not being written about and you're dead.
Well, anyway, the date happened.
Yeah.
It did
There
happen.
wasn't much to the date.
Well,
And why would that be?
Because Sentinels.
Sentinels.
Yes.
Sentinels in the middle of Manhattan.
Correct.
In recognizable Manhattan.
Indeed.
Also, it was Christmas.
Yeah.
It was Christmas.
And we saw the Rockefeller Plaza tree.
Yes.
Whatever the hell.
And Nick Fury was there.
And Nick Fury was there.
For some reason.
And Matt Murdock was there. And you were there too,
Mr. Tin Man.
Oh, of course he was.
So Sentinels took a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
Sentinels took Jean, Wolverine, and Sheen. So we'll continue to say.
Jean, Wolverine, and Sheen.
Banshee, and also Professor X, who was on vacation.
Yep.
Because the boat he was on got attacked.
Vacation always goes really well for the X-Men.
You know, maybe they should never go on vacation.
I don't think that's fair, frankly. I think they have a very stressful job.
Are they getting paid? Who's paying?
I mean, they've got free room and board and access to crazy planes.
True, but...
And everything they could fucking want. I feel like there's still at least, like, a stipend.
But where's the money coming from?
Charles, he's rich as shit.
He has money?
Yes, he lives in a mansion.
So the Sentinels
What's
took
to do,
them
though?
away.
Like,
he inherited it.
and
He's a
he's
scientist.
He's been burning money all this time?
He's a scientist.
When you're a certain amount of rich,
True.
you
It
don't.
just
You just
generates
continue
itself.
getting
Yeah,
richer.
yeah, if it's been invested, it's gonna be locked up in investments and just keeps on generating money on its own, and you can probably live off the interest. I know these things. He never gets into his tax statements, and it's
You know,
I
I think that's been a
issue of X-Men where we talk about Professor Charles Xavier's taxes
he goes
and his
to his
income.
fucking CPA. Frankly, you're right though. This has been something long abandoned in canon, and I am waiting for the gripping review of Charles's W-2. He doesn't have a W-2.
No, he doesn't have a W-2 because he's not employed.
I'm not rich enough to know what forms rich people fire. Fire.
they fire them. They don't file. They fire.
We've gotten so off track. Please just tell us what happened.
There were
This episode is going to be
Sentinels?
3 hours long.
The guy on the boat got back to the.
He didn't die.
He didn't die.
He didn't die.
He could have, but we thought he was going
Guys,
to.
he didn't die.
No.
No, he didn't die,
He
and
didn't. He super duper didn't die.
And he told them, no, actually, they're in space. Cut to Banshee getting spaced.
All of them got
Well,
spaced.
yeah, but Banshee.
because they
Banshee
were escaping.
was- Space
Banshee
them.
brought them all.
Yes,
He did space them.
they were escaping, and Banshee grabbed them and
He
Suddenly
Space.
space.
he did blow out a wall, a bulkhead. What the hell do you call a space station wall?
Bulkhead.
Wall.
Bulkhead.
Wall.
Oh no!
It's a bulkhead, bitch.
It's a wall.
Fuck off.
Space station wall.
Yeah, sit here getting on my ass about not knowing what a ballista is, and you're gonna argue with me about a fucking space station wall.
So how do you think Scott files? Does he have a job?
Oh my
Does this
god,
count as
we're
a
not
job?
getting
No more taxes!
no more taxes.
Taxed enough already!
They're in space. Jonathander.
That's not even a name.
That's not even... Yes.
They're in space. So the other X-Men are like, fuck, now we have to get to space.
And they
So
do.
they steal a rocket.
Oh, they
They
steal
don't
a space
steal
shuttle.
it,
They
really.
hop in a space shuttle.
Well, they kind of stole it.
Not really.
No.
It was
They
Peter.
They took it on a joyride.
This is Dr. Corbeau's spaceship, and he said, I'm going to space, and NASA was like, yeah, alright.
Because that's how NASA works.
Yeah.
That's definitely how space
Um,
shuttles work.
Colossus had a panic attack.
Yep.
And he almost died because of it.
Correct.
He did. And then Storm got ejected into space for a little bit. And then they all got out of the space station and they were fine.
Well, they were attacked by the space station.
They were attacked by a Sentinel.
Yeah, they were attacked by Sentinels, not really the space station.
From the space station.
If you have a fucking castle and soldiers come out of it to attack you, you wouldn't say the castle attacked you.
I mean, you could, and you wouldn't be wrong.
Fuck you.
Stop being so fucking pedantic, I swear to God.
I could start talking about their taxes again.
If you start talking about the fucking taxes again, this recording's over
So
and we'll
they got
try
on-
again next week.
They got on the space station, and I don't remember what happened after that.
What happened?
Neither do you guys.
I've gotten very distracted by this whole thing.
I'm thinking about taxes.
Thinking about taxes. So the X-Men split up, and half of them went after Wolverine and Shawn. And
Wolverine and Sheen.
Wolverine and Sheen.
Yes.
I'm just gonna have to start. That's just gonna have to be his name.
His name is now
Now that I
Sheen.
just have nicknames for people, he's Sheen. Sure. Most of the X-Men go after Wolverine and Sheen, and Scott goes to go and find Jean and Charles because Jean called out mentally like, "Hey,
Oh yeah.
Lang's gonna kill us all."
Oh yeah, and then Scott almost beat the Nazi fuck to death.
I mean, because, oh yeah, there are actually people being called Nazis here. We've ratcheted up quite a bit.
This fucking picture of Jean is really distracting.
It is. It really
And
is.
that's why we have to zoom in on it.
There we go.
No.
Oh no. She's
Everything
really
about
bad.
her
She's
is
really
so
bad.
She's fucking skeletal, and her boobs are just like water
Everything
balloons
is
that have
fucking
been taped
vacuum
on.
packed and also loose in that same fucking thing I hate.
And her skirt is way too short.
It's always been way too short, though, in fairness.
Yeah, but it's super fucking short here. Like, her butt is right here. This is not covering her.
Believe it or not, this was a sign of independent women originally.
Yeah, I get that, but I don't agree with
originally.
it because it's fucking stupid.
Also,
Ugly.
by originally, I mean
In
the
the
60s,
60s.
not in 86.
Yeah,
When that
So,
artist-
well, the outfit's a holdover from the 60s,
I
though,
know.
so I don't think it's entirely fair to hold it against
So
the 80s.
anyway, then what's-his-fuck revealed that he had cloned the X-Men, I guess.
Yeah, that was definitely what happened.
Okay.
Were they clones?
I don't know.
Were they robots?
I don't know.
There's one more story. Ah! Sebastian Shaw!
Ah, he also
that-
got attacked by a sentinel.
That guy that we're supposed to care about.
But he's an asshole.
It's not really about him being likable or unlikable, I just don't care.
We also don't know anything about him yet. Really.
Exactly. He just showed up, and it's like, care about this guy. And I'm
Care
like,
about Sebastian Shaw.
Okay.
Why?
We've got a milestone here to start off our rating. This is X-Men 100 from May of 1976.
Ooh.
Written by Chris Claremont, pencils and inks by Dave Cockrum, colors by Bonnie Wilford, and letters by Annette Kowicki. As usual, we're going to be using the classic X-Men version of the story, featuring some pages with pencils by James Sherman, inks by Sam Granger, colors by Paul Beckton, and letters by Rick Parker. Let's start off with Bonnie Wilford. I was gonna groan and say she's Chris's ex-wife! Women in
Ooh.
comics. But she's actually fucking interesting.
Oh, good.
And
Thank God.
An article allegedly by her fourth husband, Chris was husband number 3.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Lady, if you've had 4 husbands, you might also be part of the problem.
Well, the article states that she was at least at one point a Wiccan high priestess, and apparently helped design an occult story bible for Doctor Strange,
Wow.
and
Okay.
may have helped Chris develop some of the later, more occult aspects of the X-Men.
Huh.
So there's not a ton of information I found on her, but she's actually quite fascinating.
Interesting.
But her love life was maybe not the best.
Then there's Paul Beckton. Paul's another creator of color, so of course that means I can find super no information on him other than his picture.
He
But-
existed.
Yep, he's another black creator, so that's cool.
Yeah, Black Creator we know nothing about.
And Rick Parker seems to have been creating up until the early 2010s. I haven't found much from him after that, though he has had a wide and varied career and is apparently the artist behind the Beavis and Butthead comic. Both Wikipedia and his personal blog really wanted to underline the fucking Beavis and Butthead thing, so I needed to present this to you because it's very important.
That is his achievement in
That's
life.
his achievement.
I know a lot of people really like Beavis and Butthead, and I'm not gonna tell you that you're wrong,
But you're telling them that they're wrong.
but you're wrong.
Now, Dr. Stephen Lang has the mother of all big screen TVs, and the bastard doesn't even have the decency to at least watch the Battle Royale he's initiated behind him.
How long are we going to have these X-Men classic versions of these,
Quite a while.
Okay.
The old X-Men clash with the new head-to-head, and Lang just maliciously cackles, proclaiming his victory to someone. Plan so far. Ask the government for money. Kill the government official they send. Bring back the murder bots. Do not read the instruction manual and do not patch the software. Cannot stress this enough. Check and check. Build a wall around mutant kind and make Sebastian Shaw pay for it. Check.
Oh, no.
Sublet from Nick Fury because a secret base in the Adirondacks just will not do. Check. Kidnap the X-Men. Check, 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 and check. Make the X-Men fight to the death. Can't check that one off just yet. something something exterminate the mutants, something something profit. I'm not seeing where the payoff is in this, but follow the plan! Wiggy woggy!
Just a thought, but they're all in space right now, and right this moment.
Correct.
But his plan is to have them fight to the death when he could just space the room.
That's not the fun, though. If you go to all this trouble, I mean...
No, I get it. He's a villain. He's being villainous. Just spacing them would not be villainy.
It's nearly 2-on-1 as the original X-Men plus Havoc and Polaris face off against the newbies, only 5 in number. And Charles Xavier calls for blood.
Which one?
That one?
Okay.
I mean, that sounds like Charles Xavier.
The new X-Men desperately wish not to be having this fight, but no attempt to calm things down seemed to be working. Nightcrawler is the first one to notice that something isn't right here as he faces off with the Beast. The last time Kurt saw him was when the Avengers were too busy to beat back nuclear hellfire. Big and blue is life. Only this doesn't seem quite right. Not only that, but McCoy indeed argues that he's never been hairy, despite his hairy fucking arms.
Right?
And he connects with a solid kick, throwing him into Cyclops and sending both X-Men sprawling. This seems like a good moment to entreat Cyclops to remember who it is they really need to be fighting, Dr. Lang? Then again, he notices something off. Scott's visor doesn't look like the one Wagner's grown accustomed to. But before he can follow the inconsistencies any further, Scott blasts him, throwing him bodily across the room once more. When he finally comes to a rest, Wolverine furiously realizes he isn't moving in the aftermath. He starts doing the buttons up on his bear shirt, but before he gets the chance to cut his current opponent...
Hey, that's a reference to our last episode.
It is!
Someone got the reference.
If you want to learn about the bear suit, listen to episode 77. Bear shirt, rather. Not a bear suit. He's not a furry. Well,
No.
maybe.
The
Not
furry.
a bear furry, at least.
Come on, the bear suit doesn't come along until we meet up with that Russian guy.
Yeah.
The bear shirt, on the other hand.
No one's going to tell Wolverine he can't wear a bear shirt because it's not dishonorable for Canadians to do it.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah.
But before, he doesn't get a chance to cut Iceman down to size because Angel armpit carries him just long enough to hurl him at Colossus.
That must actually weigh quite a bit.
After only a moment, the newbies disentangle themselves and burst out the first of many fastball specials.
Ah, classic.
Which is when you throw your teammate at an enemy to give them a little extra speed for whatever they need to do.
And that teammate is almost always Wolverine.
It's very frequently Wolverine, but not always.
It
Yeah.
really is the inaugural.
This is the inaugural one, yep. We've had some that have come close, but nothing that gets the official stamp of approval.
But he calls it that, so
What?
they've trained.
Well, yeah. They came up with Team Attack.
They've been training together for quite a while. Anyway, Wolverine is heading claws out at Warren. Colossus makes the pitch, but only just before Havoc hits him hard.
Ooh.
His armored body spares him the brunt of the blast, but it's enough that even through it, the pain begins to build to an unknown crescendo, along with his anger. He pushes through that growing pain, determined never to let Havoc hurt another person. For this, he seizes not the means of production, but a nearby I-beam with which to swap Baby Summers aside. Storm has a much harder time convincing herself to let loose. She faces off with Marvel Girl, pleading for Jean to think of their closeness.
No, they're girlfriends.
But Marvel Girl denies the hours spent together even happened, something we all know isn't true. With the revelation, Aurora too realizes something isn't right here. She calls Jean out as an imposter, but doesn't even get the words fully out of her mouth before Polaris lets loose on Storm.
Ooh.
Why everybody gotta pit 3 bad bitches against each other?
They just hate to see a bad bitch winning.
Honestly.
The girls ready for the finishing blow, but are luckily interrupted by Banshee yelling his way across the room.
As he does.
She's screaming at people.
He's so funny.
Driving the young lassies back, away from Aurora, as the new X-Men begin to regroup behind Banshee's leadership.
So he's talking while screaming.
No, I think he stopped screaming to talk.
I don't know, I just kind of like this idea that he's saying those things in his attack.
I mean, maybe. I guess he could just yell that really loud.
Yeah.
Not all of them get behind Banshee's leadership, because Wolverine is already halfway across the room, going in for another round. He's not going to let anything stop him from getting to Professor X, where he demands an explanation. He doesn't get one. Instead, he gets first mind blasted, and then Xavier gets up out of his chair and socks him in the face.
That's not what he does.
Not generally, but...
Might have used his robo-legs. It's been a while.
Yeah, but, punching. He doesn't have robo-arms.
He's gotta have good arm strength, though. He pushes himself around in a wheelchair.
Yeah, but Wolverine weighs like a car with those bones.
It's a heavy wheelchair.
I would like to note, Wolverine has no cakes.
It's true. That's flat. There's not even, like, the hint of a divot.
There's...
No, that's flat, dude.
It's not shaded flat.
Yeah, it is.
There is no ash there. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right.
I don't either. I think he should have a dump truck ass.
That's not enough to keep him down, though, and this time he's coming for blood. Marvel Girl intervenes, though, hitting Wolverine with another brain blast. This one hits him like a freight train, and to keep fighting despite the pain, he dips low into the land of instinct. And now, our face-blind king, too, realizes Jeannie might look like Jean, but she doesn't smell like Jean.
Oh.
Wolvie springs into action, leaping at Ms. Gray. The room momentarily stops as Wolverine hits home, combatants on both sides stunned. Dr. Lang hangs in suspense as he fiddles with the controls for the camera. He was too busy trying to avoid the commercials and he missed what happened.
He has to watch his shows.
When he finds the right camera, though, he's not happy at what he finds. Jean Grey, or at least the machine impersonating her, lays dead on the floor, internal mechanisms torn asunder. As he rages, it's finally revealed who he'd been ranting to. His captives, now including the real Cyclops and Dr. Corbeau among their number, listen on as Lang rages about the demise of his X-Sentinels, meant to both mimic and destroy the X-Men, so as to more easily exterminate mutant kind. He then decides, of course, to reveal his backstory to his quite literally captive audience.
Oh, God. He's really doing this.
After all, this didn't all start with space platforms and X-Sentinels. No, it had a slightly more humble origin.
Sorry, this panel with Robo-Jean is actually really well drawn.
It's really pretty, I like it.
But he's a giant crying baby.
Yeah, of course.
I like that he's still all battered to fuck.
Is he missing a tooth?
Yes!
Yeah, missing a tooth and also completely dickless.
I mean, we knew that. Dr. Lang's interest in mutants started with a government project meant to determine the why of mutation. And through that level of clearance, he was able to gain access to Larry Trask's upstate facility. All of that work that went into Trask's project, and even that was not enough to stop a few determined mutants. His actual project was not enough action. He needed to exterminate mutant kind. And so he teamed up with the Council of the Chosen, using their supposed intention to profit from mutation to fuel his efforts to instead destroy the mutants. And since the X-Men were the most fervent of mutant kind's defenders, it was they that had to go. And so the X-Sentinels. His captives are probably relieved when one of Lang's subordinates breaks in with a report of system failures on the orbital platform. At least it means Lang will shut up, instead of telling them about the myriad things they can set on fire in their homes. On the big screen, now that they no longer have to hold back, the X-Men start absolutely...
Oh my God, they answer the wall debate.
Hull!
That makes sense.
But Bulkhead...
The Hull is the outside, though.
Bulkhead goes with Hull, though.
It does. They're using ship terminology.
And so it's Bulkhead! I fucking win!
A bulkhead is just a fancy wall.
That's true.
It is true.
No argument. This can be our middle ground.
Fancy wall.
The X-Men start absolutely tearing through the simulacrums of the O5. Lang barks for the station tech to go to their backup systems and stop bugging him with this shit. The battle rages, Lang argues, the power keeps flickering under the strain of the systems. Despite the fact that their tubes were intended to negate the X-Men's powers, it seems there may be an opportunity to break through. Those systems have to be straining too, after all. And so, while Lang is occupied, Scott starts blasting the walls of his clear prison, hoping for another power flicker he could push his way through.
Punch beams, activate!
The tech wants to evacuate the station before the solar storm kills them all, but Lang will not leave until the X-Men are all dead. The power flickers continue coming, each flicker a moment to weaken the integrity of the negatube's walls. They begin to glow, and finally it catches Lang's attention moments before the tube shatters, freeing Scott from confinement. First he frees his fellow captives. Corbeau catches his still unconscious friend, Xavier, but Summers presses his advantage, blasting after Lang, who's now caught on the back foot.
Ooh, he looks like shit.
He does, I'm telling you, man.
Scott beat the shit out of him.
He got his ass beat.
I'm surprised he's up.
The Doctor flees the optic blast to his flying gunship that he has inside this lab for some reason.
Why not?
So, imagine those flying motorcycles that the Avengers have. This is pretty much that, but with an enclosed cockpit.
Okay, sorry. This panel, and specifically this word bubble, so reminds me of, like, people are like, cis is a slur.
I mean, does that clash with anything we've picked up about Lang?
It's just him like, do you hear me, homo so-called superior? Like, specifically calling out the title of homo superior as if you're trying to say that by establishing themselves as their own group, they have done something to you. Which is the way fucking people act in real life about actual minorities.
It is. So he's perfectly characterized.
Cis is a slur. Goyim is a slur. People say that.
Yeah.
Well, the lab now has a flying gunship for some reason, and Lang uses it to turn the tables on Psyche.
Turf is a slur.
Why does he have this thing?
Why not? He's an evil scientist.
Cracker is a slur. He dives out of the way of fire before winging the air car. But Scott doesn't fight alone. Jean pushes the matter, seizing the controls with her telekinesis. Between the attacks, the gunship is losing control, and Lang then flies into his big screen TV. So as far as the big game goes, party time is over, and we haven't even seen the commercials yet. You know, because that's a worthwhile thing. Watching a sport you're not interested in, to watch a few companies spend a ridiculous amount of money to shill to you. Anyway, the TV explodes, so we don't even get to watch the Puppy Bowl.
It's fucked up.
Dr. Lang is astonished to find himself alive after the crash. It was Jean who intervened, wrapping the bigot in a telekinetic shield, despite his desire to kill them all. As Jean informs Lang that he'll be returning with them to face the consequences of his actions, finally she and Scott are reunited properly. And then the room explodes.
Yeah, and we're gonna blow up Jean's skirt and show her underwear.
But we're not going to color it that way, so we can't really see what's going on.
So super duper cool.
He died, right?
We'll see.
Not just here, though, because where the X-Men have now finished wiping the floor with the X-Sentinels, they also feel the explosion. They head not away from danger, but into it, running into the flames to rescue their rattled friends. Reunited, they dash through the halls of the platform and back to the StarCorps shuttle, lodged into the side of the platform still.
Oh yeah! I completely forgot that the thing just slammed into the side of the station.
That was their plan to get in, was just to fucking
I
ram
don't think that was the plan, it was just what happened.
No, it was the plan.
No, the original plan was to...
Well, yes, but the plan...
Plan 2.
In the heat of the moment, when Colossus was dying,
yes,
they were like, new plan, ram it.
Gun it.
True. The station could blow any time now, and they're still trapped in the damaged shuttle. The flight computer is dead, the pressure suits are gone, and there's a hole in the side of the thing.
They're all gonna die. Okay.
They weigh their options. Without the computer, it would have to be a manual entry, but with the radiation, the pilot wouldn't stand a chance. Their options are running thin, but Jean Grey sees the only out. She steels herself before stating that she can do it. Scott then points out that she doesn't know how to fly a space shuttle, but then she doesn't need to. She reaches into Peter Corbeau's mind, pulling the knowledge she needs. It should be enough to get them down. But what of the radiation? She protests that she can screen it out, but it's an obvious lie.
Believe it or not, there is a third problem they've forgotten. That shuttle isn't skyworthy. It's going to burn up in the atmosphere.
She can't handle that much for that long, and she knows that. Also, not necessarily. She's got fucking telekinetic.
One thing at a time.
She can fucking bubble it through, frankly. She can't handle that much for that long, and she knows it. But that's the price to pay. Scott Summers may not be willing to pay that price, and Jean doesn't allow him to. She mind blasts him, and then Summers is down, and she leaves him to Banshee's care. By the time he comes to, there will be nothing to be done. He's not the only X-Man who stands in the way of her plan, though. Wolverine moves in, growling that it's tantamount to suicide, but Jean just barks for him to back off, and he sheepishly slinks away to the life cell intended to keep them alive through the radiation storm.
Oh boy.
Aurora, too, does not want to lose her friend, but Jean is the only one who can do it. The pair share a tearful embrace as Jean bids Storm to pass her love on to Scott, not expecting to survive the flight. With the passengers all in the life cell, Jean uses her telekinesis to seal the hole in the shuttle with wreckage from the station, and then they are away. The shuttle begins its journey home as Jean wrenches it free from the platform. There's a half hour to home, and only a minute before the first radiation hits. Sometimes a half hour seems to take forever. It's not much time to come to terms with your fate. Maybe even better if it was just over. Instead, Jean has her faculties about her, fully aware of cold death hanging just over her shoulder, and fearing its embrace. As radiation begins to wash over the shuttle, Scott begins to come to. Quickly, his friends restrain him in place, preventing his attempts to break loose and go to Jean's side. It would mean death for all of them, and there's no changing the plan now. Kurt and Piotr just hold him in place, and Jean's mortality closes in around her as the radiation's strength increases. Her telekinetic shields hold until a third of the way to home, the onboard Geiger counter begins to crackle and tick away. Finally, even her efforts are not enough to hold back the tide, and she screams out for Scott as the storm finally washes over the shuttle.
Rip.
We're going to skip the B story for now and come back later. For now, we're going to move on to X-Men 101 from July of 1976, written by Chris Claremont, pencils by Dave Cockrum, inks by Frank Chiaramonte, colored by Bonnie Wilford, and lettered by John Costanza. We're using the classic X-Men version as usual, featuring a few pages penciled by Tom Morgan, inked by Sam Granger, colored by Michelle Wrightson, and lettered by Bill Oakley. Tom Morgan and Michelle Wrightson are new names for us, so let's see what's up with these folks. I think I'm just going to read this one straight from Wikipedia. In November 1995, Reagan Books released Miss America, the second book by radio and media personality Howard Stern, which includes a 5-page comic book story written and drawn by Morgan. It was featured as a glossy paper insert and features Stern's satirical superhero, FARTMAN.
Oh, boy.
Morgan's story is based on the screenplay by J.F. Lawton for an unproduced FARTMAN film.
Oh boy.
Why is there a screenplay for a FARTMAN film?
I would like to note that audible question mark was not me editorializing, that was in the quote.
The iconic, everyone's favorite iconic character, Fartman.
Michelle is actually another interesting woman in comics, despite having to start with her being the ex-wife of another creator in the underground comics scene, Roger Brand. She then married another comics professional.
Sometimes that's your social life.
Yep.
It's her social circle. She was the creator on several early all-female comic productions and was involved in the founding of the United Cartoon Workers of America, an organization meant to advocate for creators' rights.
Cool.
So Michelle is also fucking awesome.
Nice.
10 minutes later, Jean Grey is still holding on to the shuttle's controls, even through the radiation bombarding her. A final 10 minutes to Earthfall. but it's not clear that she'll make it even that far as her body begins to fail her.
The art in these last few pages has been really cool, by the way.
It's really nice. Still, the shuttle would seem to be under some kind of control as it passes through the friction of Earth's atmosphere, descending towards New York City.
Well, it made it through intact, which is more than I was expecting, to be perfectly honest.
Frantically, air traffic control scrambles to get all the traffic out of the shuttle's path as it descends, screaming through the air at a whopping 1,500 knots.
Yeah, that sounds like a flying brick.
Dead on course, it heads for the runway, but not just any runway is cut out for the space shuttle.
Also, congrats on reaching a runway in a flying brick.
There's a very short landing list of landing strips long enough for the space shuttle, but JFK is not one of them.
No, probably not. You can actually look up designated landing points of the shuttle. I don't think JFK is on that list.
I do not think so either. The ship tail strikes hard, fuselage shattering as the remains of the shuttle skid off the end of the runway and into the waters of Jamaica Bay.
Can it really be said that it tail strikes when it's all tail?
It hit at the back, which
You
is where the
did.
wheels are, which is what you would call a tail strike. One by one, the X-Men emerge from the water, all but Jean Grey. Scott is frantic, and this time no one will stop him from diving down to the wreckage to try and rescue her.
Where he will die because he drowns.
But from the wreckage, the water begins to boil in a rush of bubbles, before finally erupting into a geyser of water. From beneath the waves shoots Jean Grey, newly clad in gold and green, emerging from the wreckage, a phoenix risen from the ashes, proclaiming, "Hear me, X-Men! No longer am I the woman you once knew. I am fire and life incarnate. Now and forever, I am Phoenix!"
And
Gasp!
well,
The rush of sensation quickly overcomes her, though, and the fledgling Phoenix collapses, falling back into the sea with the rest of her peers. Scott quickly pulls her back above water, holding her to his chest for a moment before the X-Men begin to make their way to shore. Bedraggled, they collect themselves. That very wet landing must have been the wake-up call Charles ordered,
Yeah.
as he is now awake and conscious. He orders his X-Men out of costume, and thinking fast, Kurt cranks up the image inducer to cover not just himself, but the rest of the bunch too.
Cool.
Apart from Corbeau, left to answer the million questions definitely coming his way.
you know, I am so glad everyone else is wondering, where did she get a costume out of this? Because I was going to ask, and then I noticed, oh, they're asking, and they asked and answered. Well, not answered, but asked.
Rescue personnel rush to the long, scraped wreckage of the crash, and the fire and the fuel left in its wake. One of them helps support an exhausted Peter Corbeau to safety, where he can finally rest, explaining that when he tried to bring the shuttle into the orbital platform to weather the radiation storm, he found it overtaken by terrorists who murdered his crew. From the shadows, the X-Men watch the firemen's efforts. Both of the telepaths held bridal style in arms.
Yep.
So how do terrorists get into space, exactly?
I mean, it's Marvel Comics. That's a stupid question. Terrorists can get into space.
That's a problem.
Feverishly, Jean rambles incoherently over the sensation of a universe washing over her. At Wolverine's urging, they make tracks, dashing away, suddenly obscured by fog, which is probably more conspicuous than if you hadn't done that.
What?
Smoke bomb!
Storm then breaks off from the rest of the group, flying for home and rounding up some clothes that the rest of them can be seen in public. Not that it stopped them, the X-Men have continued on their way towards Manhattan in Aurora's absence.
Oh, God.
And Charles has even rounded them up a ride, telepathically lassoing a nearby limo driver into their service as he
Fucking
explains that he has connections at New York Hospital who won't ask questions.
Of course he does.
The rest of the X-Men are kind of joking about it too, though. Like, the old boys club comes through again. Most of the X-Men change clothes, but in her current state, Scott is fretting over Jean, worrying about her costume once they arrive. Wolverine gladly anticipates cutting her out of her new duds, but Sykes snaps at him to keep his claws to himself.
Kurt changes into Tony Stark.
Okay, so I looked up who it is he keeps turning into. It's Errol Flynn.
Okay. Who happens to look a lot like Tony Stark.
That's probably intentional.
I don't know about that.
I don't know, I'm down with it. I'm good with it.
No, I mean, I'm saying Tony Stark's look is stolen from Errol Flynn.
Well, I'm saying I feel like that's a coincidence.
Agreed. I would like it to be not a coincidence, but...
Hey, Chuck, are you mind controlling that man to accept your money?
I think it's just mind controlling him all around. I don't think it really has to
I mean,
do with the money.
Doing it a second ago. There wasn't the mind.
Yes, he was.
But the effect isn't
Just
visible.
because the effect isn't portrayed doesn't mean it's not happening.
Right, it was clearly going on.
So
though.
now he's, it just looks like, I'm extra mind controlling you to accept my money!
Suddenly, before their eyes, in a flash of light, Jean's clothes shift into something appropriate for the occasion, leaving Scott the only one costumed because he hasn't bothered to change.
Ugh.
He was too busy worrying.
Well, he'd need glasses, and
Maybe Storm brought them.
JFK mystery deepens. What's going on in this world?
Well, a space shuttle did just fucking crash.
Oh, that JFK. I was like, wait, what does this have to do with Kennedy?
JFK Jr. is gonna come back and he's going to install Trump as the true king!
I see.
No, for the love of God, no. Of all the twists in the Marvel Universe, that is not one I ever want.
You can tell Ripley has been on crazy people websites.
I have been on crazy people websites.
Yes.
It's just as fantastical as this, let me tell you.
It sure is the world they live in.
After Jane's admission, there is little to do but wait. Just sitting there waiting for answers on your friend's condition can be torment. Wolverine has instead ducked away to buy her a get-well bouquet of flowers. He's very taken with her, and just maybe this will finally open the door. But if what he expected when he turned the corner was a little private time with Jean, he's going to be let down, as the rest of the X-Men still stand guardian in the hall, waiting for news.
Bro, she literally has a boyfriend, and he is here.
No, he thinks he can convince her otherwise.
Moira proposes that Charles try using his own powers to help Jean along, but it's no use. Trying to use his powers at all anymore only leaves Charles submerged in his nightmares once more. Charles then grossly references back to that one time he was skeevy about Jean, so that's cool, glad that's back.
Yeah.
Gross.
Time ticks away as the X-Men sit, but Scott sits apart from the others, overcome with his fears. He's loved Jean from the moment he met her, and burning teenage infatuation between the two of them only smoldered for the longest time, neither of them willing to say a thing. Now that they finally come together, can he really lose her now? He couldn't take the blow of her death. When suddenly he hears Jean's doctor speaking loudly with Dr. Corbeau, which I guess because he's a doctor means he's allowed all doctor places.
Well, don't you know? Doctors are able to do everything.
That's how it works in Marvel.
For a moment, it seems as if the worst has happened after all. Scott frantically asks after her condition, and then finally hears the news that Jean will be okay. So long as she gets a chance to rest. The X-Men erupt joyfully at the news. Mostly. Scott just slips away into a vacant room. With the tension finally broken, he takes a moment to himself to just gratefully sob over her survival.
While actor Errol Flynn looks on.
Yeah, he thinks he has a moment to himself, but unbeknownst to him, he's briefly observed by Kurt. But Kurt doesn't think any less of his friend for it. Instead, he just rejoins the group.
Kurt seems like a soft boy.
Kurt is
but in a good way.
a really good boy. It's apt timing, as Charles has an announcement for the rest. He's sending them on vacation.
Again?
Oh
which
no.
We all know works really well for them, as we have just seen.
Yes,
He
vacation
was
goes
supposed
well.
to be on vacation. Wolverine doesn't take the news well. They're not ditching out on Jean while she's ill. Charles then sternly tells Logan off, reminding him of how the doctor said she needed rest, so Scott and Charles will be staying home nursing her back to health. And they're going to be preoccupied. They're not going to be leading the X-Men, and so, vacation. Get out of the house.
That sounds almost like being fired.
But what's this? Mail time!
What?
Here's the mail, it never fails, it makes me wanna wag my tail. When it comes, I wanna wail. Mail!
What the fuck?
So that's why you were listening to the mail song the other day.
Indeed. Sean has finally received his lawyer's letter from Ireland, calling him home as he has inherited Cassidy Keep. Why not kill two birds with one stone? And so Banshee invites the rest of the X-Men, sans Jean, Scott, and Charles, along on his trip to County Mayo. And so they depart on their trip, carried away by planes, trains, and automobiles, no shower curtain rings necessary. Cassidy Keep is so far off the beaten path, though, that the roads leading to it aren't in the bestest shape. Not all of the X-Men appreciate the character of the road the way Banshee does.
Yes, character. Character is what makes those,
That's what I look for in a road, frankly.
Yes, well, we live in Michigan. Our roads have a lot of
Our
character.
roads do,
They
indeed.
do.
And they're about to have more as winter comes.
Oh, it's not really with the winter, it'll be with the spring.
True, but it does start in late fall, giving it a little bit of character.
Finally, though, they do arrive, staring in awe for a moment at Cassidy Keep, towering over both they and the ocean far below the cliffs.
So why has the sky been trans the last couple panels?
Trans rights. Are you complaining?
I'm not complaining, I'm just curious.
I don't know, it looks nice.
The castle was built to push back the Viking raiders that often landed on Irish shores. And Cassidy Keep never fell. But Sean has been away, and with the manor unattended, someone else has come to its halls. The arrival of the X-Men has not gone unnoticed. The same Black Tom Cassidy that felled Flaherty.
Oh yeah, that bitch.
Yep.
Oh, that random weird thing that didn't seem to have anything to do with anything.
Nope,
Well, I
that's coming
figured-
back around.
I figured it was gonna come up again.
And indeed, he lowers the drawbridge to draw his victims into his trap. He then turns to a man by the name of Eamon O'Donnell, ordering him to lead them all inside and make them comfortable. But Eamon refuses to go along with this any further. Angrily, Tom reminds O'Donnell that he holds Eamon's family as hostage, beating him with his staff before sending him on his way.
You beat him with a stick. Why?
'Cause he has a stick!
It's probably a shillelagh.
Maybe. I do not know.
That is not impossible, considering.
Eamon, the steward of the keep, does as he's ordered, ushering the X-Men inside and showing them to their rooms. Sean asks after the families, and Eamon tells him the little ones are fine, which had to be a stressful line to get out.
Yeah.
Sean's relieved to be home, but Aurora isn't anywhere near as at ease in the cold stone castle. To try and calm down a little bit once she's safely in her own room, she whips up a small rain shower to clean off by because it's been a while since Aurora was last naked.
Well, at least this time it's from the original issue and not fucking Chris Claremont
Adding in new nude scenes.
adding weird shit. Although this was written by Chris, wasn't it?
It was indeed.
So he's still being weird about her.
He's really weird about Storm sometimes, right?
Also, hey, Storm, I don't think that room drains.
Right? That's what I was thinking the whole time, but like, I guess if she can control the water, maybe she can just blow it back out the window.
I guess. Turn it into a cloud and make it go away?
Maybe she should just go outside and do this.
I think we've established that that doesn't go well when she's naked outside.
Well.
But she does feel better after the shower. At least at ease enough to prepare herself for their formal dinner later, because I guess Sean just decided they had to do that. Suddenly, a certain someone bamfs into her room, eager to escort her down to dinner.
She has Marge Simpson hair now.
A little bit, yeah.
It's fucking humongous.
It's cool, though. It's kind of Bride of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Aurora asks after Kurt's costume. Is he really going to wear this? But with his image inducer, he's got it more than handled, transforming playfully to first Clark Gable, then Basil Rathbone, a moment on Groucho Marx before slipping into his usual, Errol Flynn, this time clad in a tuxedo to match Aurora's evening gown. For a moment, he's totally swept away by her beauty before offering her his arm.
That's fair.
Sean Cassidy isn't nearly as at ease as he tried to appear to his friends earlier. He picked up on that tension when talking to Eamon, and it's been heavy on his mind ever since. But it's dinner time. He'll ask afterwards.
Wolverine.
He's not nearly as dressed up as his friends, playfully teasing that since he's the lord of the manor, he'll dress as he pleases.
Wolverine. Why are you dressed like a Texan?
See, I think it works, though.
It works with his personality.
It does.
I think it's very funny,
He
though.
has a cowboy hat, gloves, a jacket, and one of those little...
A bolo tie.
A bolo tie. God. And do you think he's wearing denim?
Oh, yeah. That entire outfit
Oh,
is denim.
God.
Oh, God.
The jacket is definitely denim.
This is my formal jute.
Yeah.
His formal jute. It's
hey, guys.
denim.
Did you know I own a bolo tie?
Amazing.
I inherited it from my grandpa.
I did not.
Your inherited bolo tie.
Yes.
Incredible.
You never busted that one out.
No, and I won't ever, because it's a bolo tie.
Kurt's plans to be Aurora's dinner date rather than Piotr aren't quite panning out as he planned. She offers both of them an arm, stating that she's neither of their dates.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
The atmosphere is casual, friendly, and relaxed as they head into the hall, but suddenly the bottom drops out. Quite literally, a trapdoor opens beneath them, and the
Why do
X-Men
they even
fall.
have one of those?
I mean, if you're gonna have an ancient castle in Ireland, I feel like the least you could do is have a couple trapdoors.
I think if you have a castle, that you just need to spice things up every once in a while.
Yeah, have like a bookshelf that opens into a secret room.
This is gonna kill someone one day.
You go
by
behind
accident.
the bookshelf, and there's just a slide, and you can take that down to the ground floor.
Yeah. You could get in the wall behind the paintings and look through the eyes.
Perfect. Excellent. See,
Like
that's
in
why they're all
Scooby-Doo.
like that. It's just for funsies.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause you're rich and you're bored, and you gotta find something to do.
Exactly.
They quick change into costume, by which I mean Banshee screams out of his clothing again.
Why do you keep on wearing that under your clothes?
It's weird, right?
It is.
And it can't be comfortable.
No.
And wait, was Aurora? How?
She does that.
She does that. Well,
Kinda-
because their costumes are made of unstable molecules, right?
Yeah.
So some characters can just do that.
Oh.
She uses her electricity, I think, to kind of zap it.
Okay.
They land at the feet of Black Tom Cassidy, lounging cockily atop his throne. But he's not alone. By his side stands the Juggernaut, looking much more streamlined than the fat egg we've come to know. Together, the two of them are finally gonna put down the X-Men here in the dungeons of Cassidy Keep. Suddenly reminded of the stone all around, Aurora's claustrophobia is triggered, and
God
she screams out, dissolving into tears on the floor. We're going to be saving the B story for Classic X-Men 8 for later. We're going to move on to the B story from Classic X-Men 9 from February of 1987, written by Chris Claremont, penciled and inked by John Bolton, colored by Glynis Wein, and letters by Tom Orzechowski. We're going to move along to the B story from Classic X-Men 9 from February of 1987, written by Chris Claremont, penciled and inked by John Bolton, colored by Glynis Wein, and letters by Tom Orzechowski. Before we get into the story, I'd like to give a brief content warning for cancer and child death. The X-Men have as good as taken over the hospital lounge. 3 a.m. finds most of the X-Men asleep, but for 3. Scott paces, Wolverine smokes, and Kurt just stares out the window at the street down below.
Back when you could smoke in a hospital.
I know, right?
Which
Between that and Jean walking the professor onto the tarmac.
Right. Signs of the times.
like it's a different world or something.
3 a.m., even under the best of circumstances, is not the best time for clear, hopeful thought. Indeed, Kurt mulls over his earlier prayers at the hospital chapel, seemingly ineffective, but the only thing he could do for Jean. Outside, something catches his attention, and hopeless to do anything in here for Jean, he disappears in a puff of smoke, turning off his image inducer and crouching atop a street light. Down below, a young boy sits in front of the tree, despite the winter chill. Suddenly, he reacts to a rustling in the tree behind him. The boy turns to see a bird scrambling out of the tree, flying past him. Overreacting, he falls backwards over the bench, landing behind it. The sight's enough to set Nightcrawler laughing. When the boy turns his head in the direction of the laughter, there's nothing there. But he's startled yet again as Kurt, hidden away once more behind his image inducer, speaks from the side of the courtyard, asking after him. The boy answers that he's waiting for someone. That doesn't fully assuage Wagner's concern, though. It's a cold night. He can't just sit out here the whole time. And the hospital won't allow children inside unless they're sick. Kurt can't just leave him here, but he's unsure of what to do. Soon the choice is made for him as a security guard arrives on the scene, kicking both of them out. Plaza's closed. Kurt then accompanies the kid along to a diner where he gets a snack. He offers some to the boy, but he declines, claiming not to be hungry. Finally, he introduces himself as Daniel Cameron. Gene's still heavy on Kurt's mind. He gently explains his fear and helplessness over his friend to Daniel. How much he hates just sitting there watching and waiting. Daniel has some experience with this from the other side of the hospital door, though he's not sick anymore. None of this has put Kurt any more at ease. Not only could he aggravate his health, but a young boy all alone in New York City in the middle of the night? Rebelliously, Daniel claims he isn't afraid of his city. But Kurt warns that he should be more cautious. Even being here, following a stranger, wasn't the smartest move.
Fun fact, this is the mid-'80s. This is the start of New York City's turn towards high crime.
It was kind of a mess in the 70s, too.
It was, but it just kept getting worse and worse, and Giuliani claimed he cleaned it up, and in a sense...
No, fun thing, it goes hand in hand. If you look, there's a direct correlation between...
Isn't Giuliani going to jail?
I don't know if he's going to jail, but he's been disbarred. So
yeah.
Which is fun.
But, no, there's actually a correlation between lead when they took lead out of gasoline and
I've
crime.
Seen that. But yeah, this was like, New York was... I lived there, and I was too young to know. But New York.
Meanwhile, we haven't been taking care of our pipes at all, and now there's lead in all the water again. Because it's not just here; it's all over the fucking place.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're complaining about crime. No cause to effect here. Anyway, let's see.
Politics.
He tries from another angle, pointing out that his parents are sure to be upset that he's missing. But Daniel again shrugs off that they know where he is. Kurt can't just walk away, though. Finally, after a bit of poking and prodding, Daniel agrees to allow Kurt to escort him home. Together they walk towards the west side of town. But nothing Kurt says is able to get Daniel out of his funk. Finally, he has an idea. He starts talking about his past in the circus, before quickly flipping to walk on his hands.
Yeah.
That seems to finally wring a grin out of Daniel. Cheerfully, he takes a cue from the tone and runs down the street off into Central Park. Kurt calls him back, but Daniel doesn't listen. Again, he can't just let him go.
No.
The boy runs off, calling behind him a game of Catch Me If You Can.
Oh boy.
He is shocked to find that Kurt can indeed, stumbling into him lounging grinning on a nearby boulder.
Oh my god.
Kurt grins it away as magic, before delving into more circus tricks, juggling some tennis balls.
Although, he has a positively evil grin when he's about to start juggling.
Daniel gives it a brief go, but after failing, quickly gives up. Kurt encourages him to try again. You know, that quote about how the first step of being good at something is being bad at something.
Yep.
He then explains that despite Daniel's protestations, juggling can be magic. Magic is just convincing the world of an illusion. He then instructs Daniel to not think about it so much and just do it. And that seems to do the trick. He finally starts to get it, even as dawn begins to break over the east side. Kurt casually throws a third ball into the mix, and then finally Daniel has it. With daybreak, though, Kurt really must get the kid home. He brings him safe and happy to his front stoop, asking if he'll be at the hospital today, perhaps for another lesson. Daniel answers in the affirmative, but before they go, Kurt lets down the image inducer, considering Daniel a friend now. Daniel's excitement lights up his face, and he hugs his new friend, reassuring him before he goes inside that Jean will be okay. Later in the day, Kurt has found his way back to the hospital. He asks one of the floor nurses if she's seen young Daniel Cameron, and the nurse sadly shakes her head. If Kurt has come to see Daniel, he's come too late. After a long fight, Daniel's cancer finally took him in the night. Kurt is left to mull that one over, finally coming to the conclusion that this may have been God's answer to his prayer, a sign to reassure his child in his hour of need. If that is indeed what it was, then it did the trick. As he waits, he's found at least this crumb of hope to face another day with.
Wow.
Woof.
Yeah, Chris likes to come along and kick us in the fucking feels.
Also, wow.
So was what? We're never gonna know what that was, are we?
Nope. It's just a
Kurt's
story.
conjecture is all we got.
Maybe it was a ghost.
Maybe someone was fucking with his brain. That's not unrealistic in the Marvel universe.
And it really doesn't matter, because in the end, that's where his faith took him.
Mm-hmm.
He saw something good as a sign, and it made him happy. But that is our last story for the day. So how do we want to rate all that? Let's go with first the Phoenix story.
Arguably, we started the Phoenix story before that, but that our iconic Phoenix.
I wouldn't say it's particularly iconic. I think the Dark Phoenix story is iconic.
There's a degree of iconic in this. We hit on it in the cartoon. It's big
true.
enough.
It was big enough that they brought it to the cartoon really early.
That's true, but I mean...
It's not the one you see as much.
Well, I'll put it this way. Before you started telling me things about the X-Men, I thought that the Dark Phoenix story was the same as the Phoenix story, and there wasn't a Phoenix before that. So...
Now, to be fair, I did get spoiled on there being a Phoenix like 30 years ago.
That's
old.
When I watched the cartoon, when it was on actual television originally. Because I actually watched that X-Men cartoon enough to know about the whole space shuttle thing.
Now, the story itself, though, on its own merits, I'm gonna say is not the most amazing.
Yeah.
Dr. Lang's plan was stupid.
Yes, this was one of the dumbest plans.
The enemy of the day was really dumb.
He was really dumb. He thought somehow by making robot clones of the old X-Men, he could defeat the new X-Men.
And profit.
As if, because he made X-Men, they would win.
Right.
That was his logic.
Right.
If I make them, they'll win.
If you build them, they will come.
Why did he think that his X-Men...
I mean, he did outnumber them.
Yes, but he just thought that that would be enough.
Apparently.
He's an
He
idiot.
was overly confident, and he had a bad plan.
Yeah.
And I just think that portion of the story was...
It was weak. It was weak.
The entire part where Jean is flying them all back to Earth, that was very good.
Yes.
So...
It's an unbalanced story.
It is very unbalanced. I'm gonna give it...
Are we rating the whole arc at once, or are we rating the issues for today?
It took a real hard left turn when... Yeah, we're going to Ireland.
Well, that's really the beginning of another story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
I'm gonna rate the whole arc together.
Okay.
The Phoenix story together. And I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. It would be a 5 out of 5 if the villain wasn't stupid.
Like, it almost feels like him being there at all was just...
to get them into space.
Yes.
See, I don't mind it. I think they do a pretty good job. Chris does a really good job characterizing him.
Oh yeah, the characterization was really good. He was Nazi scum.
And he was called a Nazi, which I don't know when they start doing that, but whoo boy, that feels different from some of the other stuff.
I mean, I feel like they were doing that, and then they stopped for a while, and then started again.
But when they were originally, they were usually meant people who were either actually Nazis or Hydra.
Yeah, now we've got the newfangled brand of Nazi here.
This guy is a neo-Nazi.
Yeah.
Totally different animal.
Yeah, new branding and everything. Because in the Marvel Universe, the old Nazis never really went away.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
So, you have to actually differentiate our Nazis. We have the old Nazis, which are now Hydra, and continue the line of thinking that Captain America punched way back in his introduction. And then we have new guys like this asshole who wants to purify the world of a different people.
Yeehaw! Anyway, rate the fucking Phoenix Saga.
Sure, what's, 4.
I'm at 4.5. I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
But the robot fight in the middle was weird. Even if it was not badly executed, I like all the little hints of something's not right here. Why is Beast like this? Why doesn't he remember?
Why is
What's up with Scott's
Why is
visor?
Beast not blue?
Can I be totally honest?
Yeah.
For a hot minute, I thought that it was time travel. Because of those hints. They were not leading me to believe that they were robots. They were leading me to believe that they were from the past.
For a moment, because of other things I've read, I also thought time travel.
Right?
Biased by having read this before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you blame me for thinking time travel? I'm literally reading stuff that involves that problem.
With the X-Men.
Yes. You give Warren a shiny upgrade, and you'd think, yes, this is definitely time travel.
But it's like, for Beast to be like, oh, I've never read Blue and Harry. And Jean's like, I don't know you, Ororo. That makes
We
me
never
think
went
they're
on
from
that
the
date.
past.
Oh, I like it.
I'm not saying I didn't like it, I'm just saying it didn't
It has
quite.
issues.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, what did we think about the doozy of last story?
What about Ireland?
Oh, Ireland. We didn't.
The start
Alright,
of
the beginning of Ireland.
Ireland is a story about
Ireland prologue.
3 out of 5. It was a comic.
It feels like a very weird left turn.
Yeah.
Like, we clearly have the story, but no, we're going to Ireland. Fuck whatever that Phoenix stuff is. We're going to Ireland!
And what are they gonna do, just sit around and wait for her to wake up and be feeling chill?
I don't know.
Might as well send him off to do something. But I also think it was underwhelming a little bit.
And the Juggernaut was
But we
there.
also didn't have a lot of time.
The Juggernaut was there for 1 page.
The reveal of the Juggernaut was nicely done, though. I like his new svelte physique.
May I offer you an egg in this trying time?
Yeah, it was definitely a comic 3. Weird.
The thing I like about all these comics, everything with Chris, is just the little moments of characterization you get here and there.
Oh, yeah.
Kurt coming up to flirt with Aurora and all that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the last one.
Oh boy.
3.5.
You're here to hurt us.
This is...
For
What?
3.5 for Ireland.
Oh, yeah, 3.5 for Ireland. The last one.
5.
Yeah.
This is mean.
A lot of these have been like that.
He's not afraid to go for the fucking gut punch, is he?
It's gonna be
No.
sad when he stops writing these.
I'm at 4, I guess. The pacing was a little weird for me.
Yeah.
But in the feels, it is all good.
I like Kurt.
I
Yeah,
know.
Kurt's a good boy.
Kurt's your favorite, isn't he?
He is.
What about you? Who's your favorite?
You said Colossus before.
Did I?
Yeah.
I don't know right now.
Wait and see. Alright, that's fine. We're gonna boil out a little bit more.
Maybe it'll be
Flesh
Deadpool.
these guys out a little more.
Deadpool is in here.
I know.
And he's not an X-Men.
He's not allowed. He's not invited to this party.
That doesn't matter.
He won't
Does.
show up until the 90s, so
I
I do
know.
hope you find another favorite X-Men before that.
No, that's why I said Deadpool.
You're not vibing with any of them?
I didn't. They're characters.
They are.
Scott's always my boy.
Oh, Scott, you looked like a 40-year-old man when you were in your funk.
It was soup time, but he didn't have soup.
He looked old when, after they got to the hospital. He looked real
Well, he's
old.
been acting like he was 40 since he was a teenager, so...
I am aware, but he doesn't usually look it in these panels. He looked it earlier.
Well, he was in a fucking mood.
I know,
Everyone looks
I know.
tired and sad.
4.5 for this.
We're all in a progression here.
It was-
4.5,
It was
5.
really good.
It was good.
I don't think it's been the best of them, but it's really good.
No. What was the best of them?
That's the real question. Which one of these is the best?
I might have to go with Piotr. Piotr's
Oh,
Heartbreak.
God.
But then there was Kurt's walk down the street with Wolvie.
And the gay guy at the bar.
That was good too.
Oh.
I think I gotta go with Piotr though.
This was a good story, but I don't think it lives amongst those two.
What about you? Out of stories, which one?
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, we'll take that. I think as a sign that we should probably start wrapping up.
Yep. That's about what I was thinking anyway. We're starting to run a little bit long.
Quite long.
Anyway, we're going to wrap this up quick. Shoot us an email over at comicsplaining@gmail.com. You want to hit us up on social media. We're on Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Comicsplaining, all those places. If you'd like to help support the show, we have a Patreon where you can get access to our monthly bonus-ode. We put that out last week, so that'll be fun. We're going to be getting ready to start up with another one soon. And if you want to see a video version of the show where we can talk about some of the things, the little funny faces when Kurt's changing between celebrities, because I legitimately had to go look them up. I had to know who they were because I knew Clark Gable and I knew Groucho Marx.
Oh yeah, that guy's fucking iconic with that look.
I wasn't so sure about the other ones, so I had to go
Fair.
do my research. But anyway, check us out over on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the motherfucking bell button, leave a comment, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell everyone you know. Shout it from the rooftops.
Tell everyone you don't know.
Rate and review us on your podcatcher of choice. And if you want to talk to us, maybe join our comic book club where we'll talk about the issues we talked about today. We're over on Discord. We include a link to that in the description of the show every week. With that said, though, we're going to be back at you next time with Thor, and we look forward to talking to you then. Bye!